Everybody, and welcome to the Western Final. First of all, what a nice break this weather is. A wide open booth up here, and we're very comfortable just like this, and it is a treat to be here on a day as nice as it is. The Western Final. Over the years, it's grown to be the game of the year in the CFL, Frank, because of the dominance of the West. People in the East might argue after that terrific game down there in Toronto today. But what about the Eskimos and the Lions? Edmonton's won 3 straight already. Can they make it 4?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Dale. I'm really excited about this football game, and I'm ready to go. I think these ball players really are showing the enthusiasm the same way. I don't know. I think it's a very difficult game to predict. It was 99-29 in a 3-game series over the course of the year, but you can throw all of that out when that kickoff starts today. It's a fresh ball game, obviously, with 60 minutes to play. I think we've got the best offensive team in the country, the toughest team. But let's go down to the field level. Wes Montgomery and the introductions. We'll be right back.
At tackle 68, John Blaine. At tackle 66, Jim Mills. At slot back 21, John Pankratz. At slot back 27, Jan Corinci. Wide receiver 3, Jim Sandusky. Wide receiver number 24, Mervyn Fernandez. At running back number 19, Anthony Parker. At running back number 20, John Henry White. At quarterback number 9, Roy DeWalt, Don Matthews, and the rest of the BC Lions.
The BC Lions have now been introduced. This is their 4th straight Western Final. Of course, the previous 3 they played at home. Now they're on the road here in Edmonton, where the Eskimos are about to be introduced. Here they are.
Wide receiver number 70, Brian Kelly. And offensive tackle number 59, Leo Blanchard. Offensive guy number 67, Rod Connup. At center number 50, Blake Dermott. Offensive guy number 55, Kurt Chaplin. Offensive tackle number 68, Rudy Phillips. Wide receiver number 7, Doug Allen. Slot back number 27, Marco Sinkar. Slot back 31, Rick Howes. Running back 35, Chris Skinner. Running back 34, Milson Jones. And at quarterback number 16,
the last Eskimo to be formally introduced. And of course, Frank, Matt Dunnigan is a key man in this afternoon's ball game because of what he did last week on this field against Calgary.
Well, without question, Dale, when I started to refer to the toughest offensive team to defend against, I was referring, of course, to the Edmonton Eskimos, and because of Matt Dunnigan, he can take off with that football, gain yardage, obviously rushing, but more so than that, he can gain time to throw the football downfield with that great athletic ability of his. This field, I think, is going to be a fast track today. There may be a problem in rushing Roy DeWalt, and of course that is what the Edmonton Eskimos want to do when their defensive unit is on the field. It's a little bit slippery, and that, of course, will favor the passing game because they know where they're going.
The Lions, of course, are playing much better football now than they did the last time they played the Eskimos. They were in the midst of a 4-game losing streak at that point, and one of the keys has been Anthony Parker. And let's go to Al.
I've got Dwayne Mandruzak, the Eskimo equipment manager. Dwayne, shoes are the big problem. What's the most popular today?
The shoe with the soft base. You'll notice the little spikes sticking out on the side, Al. This sole doesn't freeze up under cold conditions. Our players have been wearing this the last 3 weeks and found it to be very successful.
How many pairs each player ready to change to if he has to?
We have 3 different pairs on the bench. We have broom ball, we have turf shoes, and we have these shoes. We're ready for anything.
Thanks, Dwayne. Good luck.
Thanks, Al.
I mentioned Anthony Parker for the BC Lions, Frank. He's not a breakaway back, but he's big and strong.
Well, he was a big factor, of course, in the last game of the season in Winnipeg when the BC Lions played in that awful snowstorm in Winnipeg. But don't forget, the Edmonton Eskimos with Jones and Skinner have 2 backs that can run with the football. They've got a real diversified offense, much more so, I think, than the BC Lions. But let's not forget, the BC Lions are the hottest team in the country right now. They've played as good or better than anybody over the last 3 weeks.
You saw an interesting quote there from Jack Parker. As you look at Don Matthews now, for Parker to make a statement like that, Frank, I think it surprised everybody. The most important game in his career.
Well, that goes back 34 years. And Don Matthews has always said before the season started, the biggest game of the year is the Western Final. He should know this is his 10th in a row as a coach.
And, of course, the winner of this game will meet the Hamilton Tiger Cats next week in Vancouver. It is the 10th time in the last 15 years the Eskimos have hosted the Western Final.
Free.
The head referee for this afternoon's football game, number 62, John Ireland. The umpire is Chuck Paul. The head linesman, Ed Dunn. The line judge, John Middleton. The back judge, George Black. The field judge, Al McColeman. And there is an alternate, number 72, Bill McDonald, in uniform. But he'll be on the sidelines. And let's hope they don't have to go to an alternate, because there'd be an injury on the field as far as the officials go.
Well, let's hope that they have a good afternoon, but don't become a big factor in this ball game.
It'd be nice if that's the last time we have to make mention of them. As you look at Brian Kelly on the sidelines now as the Eskimos are set to kick off, John Henry White is one of the up-backs. He'll not drop back deep. That responsibility is left to Larry Crawford, number 28, and Mel Bird, number 10. Matt Dunnigan loosening up along the sidelines, but the Eskimos won't get the ball first as Dixon kicks it off. The Western final underway. From the 19-yard line, Mel Bird on the return. Bird up across the 40-yard line and is finally brought down at about the 43. Ron Howard, number 28, making the tackle. 24 yards return, and the BC Lions have very good field position to start this football game. Roy DeWalt at the controls.
And don't be surprised if the BC Lions come right out throwing that football. They like to jump on you as quickly as they can. The key to this football game from Edmonton's point of view is get to DeWalt and get to him early.
9 interceptions against Roy DeWalt by the Edmonton Eskimos in 3 games this year. They hit screen. He hits Anthony Parker, who was split off wide. And already the BC Lions have thrown a new wrinkle at the Edmonton Eskimos. Craig Schaefer, the outside linebacker, over there to make the tackle, but not before Parker, who we talked about in the opening, picks up a first down.
Well, the Lions do an excellent job of utilizing people in different positions. The best example of that, of course, is Merv Fernandez, who they want to try and get single coverage on. They'll put him anywhere on the field.
First and 10, BC at their own 54-yard line. Looking for Sandusky, and DeWalt overthrew him at the Eskimo 50-yard line. Ron Howard, number 28, providing the coverage. DeWalt, the starting quarterback. He has Anthony Parker and John Henry White in that backfield along with him.
And you'll see single coverage most of the day on Sandusky as they double up on Fernandez. There's a receiving core. Carinci, a big year, 5 touchdowns, matched his first 5 years in the league this year with that statistic.
Fernandez, of course, missed 7 games. It's the first year in his 5 years he hasn't gone over 1,000 yards in pass receiving. DeWalt short hops it to Merv Fernandez at the 40-yard line on 2nd down and 10. So the BC Lions, after picking up 1 first down, will have to punt the football away.
And they had what they wanted, Dale. They had single coverage over there, Ron Howard on Fernandez, but he did a good job of staying with him.
Fernandez finished the regular season with 865 yards. He had a big game last week against the Blue Bombers. 5 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. And he also ran one for a touchdown last week against Winnipeg.
Be interesting to see if Pasagany kicks this to the right. It may be tough to see as that sun is on the far side of the field. He does not.
Tom Richards straight up the field, and he brings it back to the 25-yard line. That was an 11-yard return after a 42-yard punt, and Jamie Buis made the tackle on Richards, who's back there now. He's a rookie out of Alberta, and he's done this before for the Eskimos, but really they had Henry Williams as their main man in punt returns, and Williams went down with 3 broken ribs last week in the semifinal win over Calgary. So Richards is back in as the Eskimo punt returner.
They'll miss Williams. They'll also miss Stefan Jones, of course, their deep threat at wide receiver. He is out of this ball game.
First play from scrimmage for Matt Dunnigan.
This is what they're afraid of.
He ducked right under the rush and picks up a first down out at the 40-yard line.
You know, the number one thing, Dale, that the BC Lions have been talking about all week long is staying in their lanes, trying to pin Matt Dunnigan in there. They do not do so. You'll see this big gap open up in the middle, and Dunnigan just takes off right up the field. That is the number one concern of this defensive football team.
Dunnigan rushed for over 100 yards against the Stampeders last weekend. Picks up 13 on first down. From the 39-yard line, the handoff goes to Chris Skinner, and he's got a couple. There's a penalty marker at the line of scrimmage.
Looked like James too quick, Parker, on that one. I think he jumped offside.
Outside, BC number 40.
See the former Eskimo, James Parker, offside, so they'll take the penalty. First down over again, 5 yards to go. The ball now at the 44. A Western All-Star and the Shenley finalist in the Defensive Player of the Year category.
Quite a compliment the other night at the banquet when he got that award. Dan Kepley said the best defensive player he's ever seen in the Canadian Football League.
That's coming from a pretty good one right there, isn't it? Chris Skinner into the middle of that line. And now it's strength against strength as he tries to pick up 3, 4, maybe 5 yards. Mike Gray, a big defensive tackle of the Lions, made the stop just shy of the first down. So the Eskimos are looking at 2nd and 1.
Gain of 4, 2nd down and 1.
That was quite a comment, was it not, about Jack Parker saying this is the most important Canadian Football League game he's ever been involved in.
Well, everybody that heard him say that, Brent, he just kind of sat stunned for a moment. And, you know, boy, that's talking a lot of football games and a lot of Grey Cups that he played in.
Goes back 34 years. You saw Dunnigan slip there as he tried to get traction on that quarterback sneak. He may come up a little short.
Of course, Jack now, as the coach, is worried about all aspects of the football team, not just one particular area, as a player would be. So you take another look at Dunnigan, and we'll have a measurement here. Congratulations to Al Bruno and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. What a terrific football game in Toronto today. Magnificent.
26 points down in the first quarter of that 2-game total point series.
I've seen teams come back from that kind of a deficit in a whole game, but they had to do it in 3 quarters.
Oh, Kerrigan just had an unbelievable day throwing the football. He'll be a lot to handle for whichever one of these ball clubs advances to the Grey Cup next week.
Oh, 3rd straight trip for the Tiger Cats. The BC Lions, of course, are the defending Grey Cup champions, and they want to be there again, obviously, playing at home. It is 3rd down and inches for the Eskimos. The ball at their own 49-yard line. Dunnigan, no doubt, will keep it again himself. He is stood up right at the line of scrimmage by Walter Ballard, but I'm sure that they'll give him a spot near the 50, which would be first down yardage. Looks like Rod Knopp got the jump on everybody there.
It did almost look like he was offside, didn't it? He just really fired off the football.
1st and 10 for Dunnigan and the Eskimos. The first place finishers in the West. 13-4-1 record. The BC Lions at 12-6 in 2nd place.
You know, we didn't think Matt ran the football all that much this year. Certainly not as much as he had in the previous 2 or 3 years. But he wound up 6th in the league in the rushing total.
Dunnigan ducks again. This time he is smothered back at the 43-yard line. That is Benny Jones, number 62, who's in the ball game today because of the groin injury suffered by Rick Klassen last weekend.
Well, they kept him inside, and they got the pressure from all 4 of the front 4 people. It wound up to be Benny Jones getting the sack. Benny, of course, playing in his first game in 1986. I should say his second game. He's had 1 sack going into today's game.
2nd down and about 16 yards to go for the Eskimos. House is open. He's got it. First down at the 41-yard line. The hit made by Nelson Martin.
Well, that underneath middle was open because the BC Lions came with a blitz. If we started up right there, you'll see Tyrone Cruz coming to your picture. Started up here, and you'll see Cruz coming out to the outside. And wide open underneath was Rick House. The Edmonton Eskimos with their 3rd first down, and they moved to the BC line 41-yard line on their first possession.
That was 2nd and 16. They picked up 26. First down from the BC 41. Go to the Eskimos. The little delay to Chris Skinner. Almost lost the ball, but he shook off the tackle of Larry Crawford and has another first down, stepping out of bounds at the 25-yard line in front of Keith Gooch. A pickup of 16 yards. Good job by Chris Skinner. Wow, he just slips right away from Larry Crawford and manages to hang on to the football. The Eskimos driving downfield. They're at the BC 25. It's their first possession of the ball game.
Triple right on the wide side of the field.
Dunnigan with good protection. Now it collapses on him as just nobody open. Credit that BC secondary with good coverage. And the Lions have their 2nd sack. Mike Gray in on top of Dunnigan. 4 imports lining up along that defensive line today for the BC Lions, with Benny Jones in there in place of the injured Rick Klassen.
Ballard was in there as well, who was second only to Quick Parker in sacks. He had 10 of them over the course of the year. BC sacked the quarterback 84 times this year, second only to Calgary's 85 in the entire country. Big blitz again.
Dunnigan ducked underneath the blitzing safety Nelson Martin, or James Parker rather, number 40. And Dunnigan is finally forced out of bounds by John Ulmer at about the 30-yard line, but Dunnigan somehow escaped Parker.
Well, that's the third time that Dunnigan has managed to duck under a rushing BC Lion. They're putting good pressure on him. But watch the excellent hustle by James Quick Parker. He does not make the tackle, but he's all the way over at the sideline chasing down Dunnigan, even though he went right over the top of him on the first attempt.
Initially, I thought it was a safety blitz the way Parker came steamrolling through there, and that's why I called it Nelson Martin.
Well, he came up the inside, which is an unusual blitz for Parker. He normally rushes from that outside with the containment.
So Tom Dixon will attempt a 37-yard field goal out of the hold by Matt Dunnigan. It is good, and the Eskimos have opened the scoring here at Commonwealth Stadium. Edmonton leading BC 3-0. This is the Western Division Final on CTV. 3-0, the Eskimos. Sunshine bathing the east side of Commonwealth Stadium, and I'm sure the fans that are sitting on that far side are enjoying it immensely. Turned out to be a great day here at Edmonton. Short kickoff goes to Ian Sinclair, backup offensive lineman, and he just puts both hands on that football and his head down and charges out across the 45, and Jeff Volpe stops him at about the 48-yard line.
Great field position for the Lions.
There's that offensive line for BC, anchored by the 15-year veteran Al Wilson at center. There was some question about them midway through the season, but they've got their act together and played well. Anthony Parker now in the same play they opened the game with. He's got another first down. Still on his feet. That's what we talked about. The powerful runner that he is. He is a hard man to stop.
What a great play that was. They put 3 receivers wide to the left, and 2 of them were, of course, just blockers for Parker. Parker, of course, played only 5 games for the BC Lions, but had 340 yards rushing, and last week, for the first time ever, went over 100 yards in a Canadian Football League game against, of course, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The same way the other side.
This is the 3rd time it is picked off by Stu Hill on the deflection.
Well, you can't fault Roy DeWalt for this interception. That ball is right at the chest. He let it hit him, however, in the shoulder pads, and a great grab by Stu Hill down at Shoetops. And Stu Hill, the man of the year defensively for the Eskimos, comes up with the first turnover this ball game. And don't forget, the BC Lions just do not turn over the football. They have right here in the first quarter.
First down for the Eskimos at their own 49-yard line. Dunnigan swinging it out to Milson Jones. He slips 1 tackle, still on his feet. He finally stepped out of bounds right at the BC bench, and they'll spot it at the Eskimo 51-yard line. So the gain is only a couple, but he could have been dropped for a loss on the play.
John Ulmer, the young linebacker, read the play perfectly, just didn't make the tackle. Lions, of course, missing Kevin Konar and Glenn Jackson, their starting linebackers. Bernie Glear has returned to the lineup, number 7, with a broken finger on one hand, and Ulmer on the other side.
Second down and a long 8 to go for the Eskimos. Pass is overthrown and flags come down. Brian Kelly working against Andre Francis, and he draws 3 penalty markers on the play.
Excellent call. Francis all over Kelly's back.
Forward pass interference. BC number 14.
BC is blitzing much more than we thought they would early in this ball game, trying to put that heat on Dunnigan. Good break for the Eskimos as they're getting very close once again to Tom Dixon's field goal range, if that's what they have to settle for.
First down. The Eskimos at the BC 44-yard line. They lead it 3-0. We have 5.5 minutes left in the opening quarter. This is Tom Richards taking the handoff from Dunnigan, and Richards is pulled down by Larry Crawford at about the 40 or the 39-yard line for a gain of close to 5 on the play. Richards, the rookie from the University of Alberta.
You'll see
he's a big play guy too.
You'll see Sincar and Richards running plays in back and forth. Sincar coming in on this second down play now.
Second and 5 for Edmonton. Dunnigan looking for the first down marker. He's got it at the 33-yard line. Outlegging John Ulmer to the sidelines. And the Eskimos move the yardsticks again.
You know, it's interesting talking to Jack Parker about Matt Dunnigan's running ability and the fact that he does it so much. You ask Jack, you say, you know, aren't you concerned about him being hurt and so on and so forth? He says no, and he says that for 2 reasons. Number one, that's Matt's style of play. He's got to do that. It's his way of really shaking up that defensive football club. Plus, they got an absolute excellent backup in Damon Allen.
Absolutely. First and 10 Eskimos from the 33. Lots of time for Dunnigan. Now he's in trouble. Again, nobody open downfield. And finally, the front 4 get to him. Mike Gray leading the way back at the 40-yard line, the 3rd sack for the BC Lions.
But Dale, as you pointed out, it really is the defensive backs' credit on 2 of those sacks. Matt with lots of time to pick somebody out, just nobody could get open downfield.
Mike Gray, rookie of the year last year, picked up a couple of sacks already this afternoon. He's along that defensive line along with Benny Jones, James Parker, and Walter Ballard. Rick Klassen with a groin injury. Second and long. Dunnigan down the middle. Richards. Touchdown, Edmonton. Talked about him being a big play type of guy. He doesn't see a whole lot of action, but when he's out there, he makes things happen.
I was just going to say, Dale, I haven't seen your crystal ball, but you just made that comment right before Richards comes up with the biggest play of the first quarter of this football game. The Eskimos go ahead 9-0, 3:31 remaining in this first quarter. 40 yards, and he beat the best defensive back of the BC Lions, Larry Crawford.
61-yard drive. The Eskimos got the ball on the interception by Stu Hill. Dixon converts it. The Eskimos now lead the Lions 10-0. 3.5 minutes remaining in the first quarter. We'll be back.
It's a quick little post pattern underneath. You won't see any great quick moves by receivers because of this field, but great position. And what a fine job of running the football after he makes the catch.
So Tom Dixon kicking off again. From the 18-yard line, Larry Crawford. And Richards got a hand on him, and then Crawford lost his footing right at the 40-yard line. 22-yard return. And the BC Lions have the football back, but now they have to do something with it.
Well, they got the most explosive offensive football team in the country when it's on all firing on all cylinders, and it certainly has been the last 3 weeks.
First down from the 40-yard line. Jan Carinci in motion. So is John Henry White. The give up the middle to Anthony Parker, and he doesn't even get back to the line of scrimmage. He slipped down. James Zachary was there for the Eskimos, and it'll be a loss of 1.
I'm wondering if the field is not becoming a little more slippery as they play on it, gentlemen. BC having a few problems with it right now, and I'll tell you, the crowd's about 30,000, but are they ever noisy? They're really into this game.
Out of the shotgun now on second down and 11. DeWalt with great protection. Wanted to air it out, then he's hit, fumbles the ball, but the Lions got it back. Whoa, fortunate for BC, John Blaine got on that loose football. The Lions will have to punt it away.
Well, as you said, Dale, Roy had time to throw the football, but again, the defensive backs this time for the Eskimos did a great job. Tom Tuine was the Eskimo that first got to Roy.
Tuine, the defense, or make that the lineman of the week for his efforts in that semifinal win over the Calgary Stampeders. The Eskimos, of course, winning all three of those awards. Dunnigan, Tony, and Tuine. The punt by Lou Bisaglia. High hop to Tom Richards. He draws a flag and escapes. What a first quarter for Tom Richards. All the way back to the BC 25-yard line. John Henry White making the tackle. A 42-yard return. The Eskimos have the ball and great field position. They lead by 10, and we're coming back. That return gives the Eskimo offense the ball at the BC 25.5-yard line. First down. Dunnigan to the end zone. Touchdown, Marco Sinkar.
Unbelievable. They had double coverage on him, and they were right there.
What a fabulous catch by Marco Sinkar.
Once again, over the outstretched arm of Larry Crawford, BC's all-time leading interceptor. They had great position on it. Just a perfect throw and an outstanding catch.
You just don't see a better catch than that, guys.
Took one play for the Eskimos to put it in the end zone, and the last two passes Matt Dunnigan has thrown have gone for touchdowns. 40-yarder to Tom Richards, and a 25-yarder to Marco Sinkar, converted by Tom Dixon, and it is now 17-0 for the Eskimos in the first quarter.
And nothing fancy about this. Dunnigan just drops straight back and delivers the ball perfectly. What an outstanding grab. Tom Richards and Marco Sinkar. Now, who would have picked those two individuals to star in the first quarter of this ball game?
Amazing, isn't it? But history definitely on the Eskimos' side. As I mentioned very briefly in the opening, this is the 10th time in the last 15 years the Western Final has been held in Edmonton, and the Eskimos have never lost a Western Division sudden death final at home.
And BC Edmonton have played 4 playoff games in their history. The Lions have never beaten them.
So Dixon for the 4th time in the opening quarter to kick off.
We still have 1:42 remaining in the first period.
Explosive performance by the Eskimos already. The Lions will have to settle things down here and control the football a little bit if they can. From the 11-yard line, Larry Crawford on the return. Crawford with a good return is out over the 40 to the 45-yard line, and Jeff Volpe is in on the tackle. 34-yard run back for Larry Crawford.
Dale, there's one thing we got to keep firmly entrenched in our mind. The Hamilton Tiger Cats were this far behind earlier today at one time.
Well, farther than that, they were down by 26 in the series, and they came back to beat the Argonauts to advance to the Grey Cup. Great day for Mike Kerrigan. There's the Walt now going to Murph Fernandez. First time he's touched the ball this afternoon. And Greg Harding just had the angle on him and just made him go out of bounds with it. Didn't give him any chance at all to really turn it upfield into a huge gain.
I think Harding would be quite happy to give Murph that kind of play all day. Although it didn't work for Winnipeg, he turned a very innocent-looking pass like that into a 51-yard score against the Bombers.
Their own 53.
Gain is about 7.
Second down and 3 for the Lions at their own 52. The pitch to Anthony Parker. He's across midfield and should have enough for the first down. Danny Bass was in on the tackle.
They are going to call for the sticks. John Ireland, your referee here this afternoon. And so far, it's been a relatively error-free ball game. Considering that frozen turf, only 2 penalties so far this afternoon, and we're down to the final minute of the first quarter.
It is a first down for the Lions at the Eskimo 54-yard line.
It'll be first and 10. BC, the ball on the Edmonton 54.
Tom Ron Matthews' team trailing by 17 points. We're in the last minute of the opening quarter. The wall to Sandusky. He's a bit high. He made a good inside move to get around Ron Howard, but then the Eskimo defense pursuing greatly from the inside, led by Craig Schaefer, hold the gain to just a couple of yards.
And that's the 5th time that the BC Lions already this afternoon have thrown that pitch pass to the outside. Started out throwing it to Anthony Parker, which was a bit of a surprise. Now gone to Sandusky. Just hit Fernandez.
2nd down and 8. DeWalt, Fernandez. Greg Harding has him wrapped up at the 40-yard line. It's another first down for the BC Lions. They'll mark it at the 39, and that's a pickup of 13 yards. I mentioned Fernandez, first time in his 5 years in the CFL, not going over the 1,000 yards, but of course he missed 7 games this year.
Big blitz on the play as they try to put pressure on Roy DeWalt, but that's the final play of the first quarter. The BC Lions are trailing the Eskimos 17-0. We'll be back.
1st and 10 from the Eskimo 40-yard line. Roy DeWalt backed away from the center, Al Wilson, but he didn't have the ball.
Damon Allen.
BC number 9.
Damon Allen is warming up on the sideline for the Eskimos. We don't know whether there's a problem with Dunnigan or whether he's just trying to get ready, but
Dunnigan is on the bench with a towel over his head.
Well, I might mention that Dunnigan, of course, comes into the game with that bad elbow, the bursa condition. I'll check on it. I was looking at Tom Richards earlier, too. He was hyperventilating and having a bit of problem, too. And he certainly has been the star so far.
Procedure call against the Lions on 1st down. Now they call the reverse to Jan Carinci. Got some blocking, but he lost his footing and dove to about the 40-yard line. Jeff George was there to pin him, so he's got about 4 yards back. It'll be 2nd and 11.
What a tremendous offensive display in that first quarter by the Eskimos. The yardage not that impressive, but 17 points put on the scoreboard certainly is. 121 yards to 45, and of course that one turnover, the interception by Stu Hill.
They had the ball 3 times in the opening quarter and scored 3 times. First a field goal and then 2 touchdowns. DeWalt guns it down the middle to Carinci at about the 31-yard line, but that'll leave the Lions a couple short of the first down. Jeff George, the defender on the play, making the tackle. So it's 3rd and 2.
First decision, but no decision. Matthews says go for it.
There's Dunnigan.
There's Dunnigan. I just talked to Matt. He says he's all right. The trainer says he's all right, so you can bet he's coming back in.
Well, Al, I understand he's had the flu all week long, so maybe he's just upset a little bit after having taken a shot.
All right, it's 3rd down and 2. The Lions pitch it to Anthony Parker. Stopped. The ball will go over to the Eskimos.
And that, of course, is considered a turnover. The second one of this ball game against the BC Lions. There's a timeout on the field with the score 17-0. Don't go away. One more time, Bill, and this is exactly why James Parker is named quick. He just beats them with sheer quickness here. He doesn't make any particular moves. He's off the ball so quickly. The Eskimos are not up and ready to block him yet. Look at that. They tried to bring the guard out, Rod Knopp, from the inside, and he just couldn't get there quickly enough.
We saw a similar play to that the last game we did, Frank, out in Vancouver when the Lions played the Blue Bombers, and the Bombers had that kind of a blocking scheme. You just can't get there fast enough to block a guy like Parker.
That, of course, is a league-leading total, 22 sacks for the year for James Quick Parker.
So that forces Dixon to punt on 3rd down and 14. Almost blocked. There's a penalty as they contacted the kicker. Sandusky at the 30-yard line, and he has dropped Tom Richards in on the tackle again.
Dixon is hurt as well. Keith Goods guilty of the infraction. 17-0. We'll be back.
At the bench after being shaken up. They ruled the Lions contacted the kicker, but it wouldn't have given the Eskimos a first down, so they declined the penalty, and the Lions have the ball at their own 30.
And Dixon got up and left the field under his own steam, so I'm sure he'll be back in the ballgame. BC first down at their own 30. We have 11:02 remaining in this first half. If you just tuned in, the BC Lions are trailing the Eskimos 17-0 as the Eskimos scored each of their first three possessions. This will be David Foster, winner of 4 Grammys and a couple of Junos. All the proceeds to the United Way.
DeWalt finds Fernandez. He steps out of bounds with it at the 37-yard line. The gain is 7. Second down and 3. Greg Harding providing the coverage. Damon Allen, who is now the quarterback in this ball game for the Eskimos, replacing Matt Dunnigan.
The official line, Dale, not the Eskimo bench, is that Dunnigan's okay. They just want to give him a little breather. They don't want to work that injured elbow any more than they have to, but he could play again.
We see Matt wandering around at the bench, and he just picked up a football, so he's going to start loosening up and staying warm. Anthony Parker puts his head down and plows to about the 40-yard line. Danny Bass leading the way defensively, and we'll get a measurement here. He's very close to a first down.
He's going to be a touch short, Dale, but only by a few inches. I'm sure they'll go for it.
Coverage right here on CTV next weekend. First down for the Lions, and Parker again with the ball, and he's to about the 45, and Schaefer got him at first, and he was helped out by John Mandrich on the tackle. It's a pickup of 5 yards for Parker.
I like what the Lions are doing, Dale. They're sticking with their game plan. They're not panicking because they're behind early in this ball game. Roy DeWalt, of course, in his 7th year as a veteran at that quarterbacking spot.
Well, remember the Bombers were down 21-0 last week in BC, and he came up with a heck of a fourth quarter. DeWalt with a beautiful pass to Jan Carinci. DeWalt under a lot of pressure, and it's a first down for the Lions. Phil Jones made the tackle. 26-yard gain.
Great block by John Henry White to buy a little more time for Roy, but an excellent throw to Carinci, who was covered by Phil Jones, number 24. The Lions on the move now inside of the Eskimo 40-yard line.
DeWalt airing it out for Fernandez. Just a couple of inches too far, working against Greg Harding, and the coverage was there all the way.
Boy, that John Henry White, I'd watch him again on that play. What a tremendous block. He comes in motion across the field and picks up on Stu Hill. Watch the job he does against a great rushing linebacker. John Henry, of course, number 20 for the Lions. The best blocker of any of the offensive backs of the BC Lions. He sticks him right at the line of scrimmage. Lots of time to throw the football when you get that kind of blocking.
Stu Hill does have an interception today for the Eskimos. That was on a deflected ball off the chest of Anthony Parker, and Hill made a fine grab at his boot tops. Second down and 10 for the Lions. Again, DeWalt going deep. Nobody there. Pass was intended for John Pankratz. A little bit of a mix-up there between the receiver and quarterback. Cliff Toney providing the coverage.
Pankratz broke it off at about the 10-yard line, Dale, and Roy did not read it. He threw it as if the fly pattern by Pankratz was just going to continue on downfield.
So that brings on Lou Pasaglia, and he'll be trying a field goal from 45 yards with Pankratz doing the holding. Might not get there. It doesn't. Bounces into the end zone where Phil Jones has it, and Jones giving up the single point, so the Lions are on the scoreboard, but that's definitely not what they wanted. It's Edmonton 17, BC 1. We'll be back in just a moment. Behind his back. 29 yards.
How is that?
We have seen some terrific catches here today by the Eskimos.
Does that speak for itself?
That's his first catch in a couple of games, but what a beauty.
He didn't have all that many during the course of the year for his production, only 49, but 10 of them went for touchdown.
Gives the Eskimos a first down at the BC 42-yard line. Nelson Jones caught up in traffic. The 40 dives down to about the 38-yard line. Tyrone Cruz, the middle linebacker.
This is so pretty. We got to just see this one more time. One more time.
Cruz. And in 3, it'll be 2nd down and 7.
Oh, right.
Amazing. It's a gain
Nelson
of 4.
Martin came on a blitz there and just passed up Jones as he was coming in there rather quickly.
2nd down and 6 for the Eskimos. Damon Allen himself. 1st down at the 30. Mike Gray made the stop.
And no question about whether or not there was a called play. Quarterback draw all the way. Damon almost broke that. 245 yards rushing for Damon Allen during the course of the year. As you see him look at his wrist with a short list of plays and getting a little help by Tom Richards coming in the lineup. Usually when Matt goes down, Allen comes back. It comes in. Matt can't get back in the ballgame.
Right. 1st down, inside handoff to Tom Richards, and again he slipped out of the initial tackle and picks up about 5 yards on the play. Tyrone Cruz did manage to bring him down, but he broke a tackle at the line of scrimmage.
And they're running against the toughest team in the country against the rush, and by quite a margin. BC just does not let anybody run the football. Edmonton's doing it.
That's a good matchup, isn't it? Toughest defense to run against and the #1 rushing team in the league. 2nd down and 5. Just managed to get the ball away, but overthrown is Rick House. We should tell you that there is another Allen in the Eskimo lineup today. It is Doug Allen as a wide receiver with the injury to Stefan Jones plus the injury to Henry Williams. Doug Allen, who has been on the Eskimo practice roster for months, finally getting a chance to play, and he is the brother of Calgary's super running back Gary Allen. There's Doug Allen right there. He hasn't had a pass thrown his way yet today, but
he's no relation to Damon Allen.
Nope.
But is the brother of the leading rusher in the Canadian Football League this year, Gary Allen.
32-yard field goal attempt by Tom Dixon, and he nails another one. And now the Eskimos lead it 20-1 with 5:18 remaining in the 2nd quarter. Snap went right past Roy the Wall. He manages to get back to it at the 12-yard line. Everything is going Edmonton's way in the 1st half. Actually, that really wasn't a bad snap. It just went right between the hands of Roy DeWalt.
Well, I'm sure Roy's hands are rather cold, as everybody else's are. It's certainly not a bad day here at Commonwealth Stadium compared to what was predicted. But that loss is going to be like 23 yards. It will be 2nd down and 33 to go for the Lions.
Again, it's the shotgun formation. Pankratz. Tony has him wrapped up along with Danny Bass right at the 15-yard line. So the gain is only 3 yards. It'll be 3rd down and a whole bunch.
Good example of man-to-man coverage. You'll see Tony following Pankratz all the way across the field and winds up making the tackle. Good job defensively, and Lou Pasaglia will have to stand at just about his own goal line to get this ball away. We have 4 minutes remaining in this 1st half, and it's a 20-1 ball game right now in favor of the Eskimos.
Low kick by Pasaglia, but he's got distance. There's Richards from his own side of midfield. Cut down as he crosses the 45 to about the 42-yard line. Paul Nastasiuk made the tackle for the Lions. Tom Richards having a big game, 15-yard return. He has a 40-yard scoring play on a pass from Matt Dunnigan in the 1st quarter and had a 42-yard punt return in the 1st quarter.
Al McCann, of course, working with us on the sideline, lives here in Edmonton and knows this ball club very well. Al, they tell me that Damon Allen really is one of the most laid-back guys in the whole ball club. Nothing worries him.
Well, he certainly is, Frank, and he's awfully popular with the fans. There's been kind of a running war all year long with the fans on who should be playing, and I think probably most of them favor Damon, ironically.
Allen hands off right up the middle to Nelson Jones for a gain of a couple from the 42-yard line. Larry Crawford making the tackle.
All Matt did during the course of the year, of course, was lead these Eskimos to a 13-4-1 record.
Actually, Damon is so laid back, he has the coaches worried all the time that he runs that 20-second clock right down to 1 or 2 seconds on every play. It's down to 4, 3, 2, 1. Just got the snap off in time. Allen throws for Doug Allen, and he wasn't ready for it. He managed to work himself behind Keith Gooch by a step or two, and the ball hit him on the lower leg. It's 20-1 for the Eskimos over the Lions. We'll be back in just a moment. Brilliant diving catch in the end zone, and another touchdown on a pass from Dunnigan to Tom Richards that covered 40 yards. This will be a 47-yard field goal attempt by Tom Dixon. His longest this year is 49. He's got distance again, and it is good.
Well, he's really on a roll. He was 4 for 4 last week. And now what's that, Dale? 3 for 3 today?
3 for 3 plus 2 converts. He's already got an 11-point ball game going for himself.
Dixon, of course, topped the Canadian Football League this year with 190 points. And, boy, he's hitting that ball strong.
Plus, he is the Western All-Star punter with an average of 45.3 yards.
Despite the fact that he was an all-star, Dale, he's been under a lot of critical heat, particularly here in Edmonton, for kind of a shaky end of the season. But 7 for 7 in the playoffs, that's not shabby.
There's DeWalt on first down into the middle to Anthony Parker. Danny Bass got over there, even though he was being blocked by John Henry White, held the gain to 6 yards, out to the 41.
That video font was incorrect. He did have 190 points during the course of the year to lead the league.
Second down and 4 for the BC Lions. The time remaining in the first half. Been all Edmonton. Sandusky's open. He's got it. Got in behind Cliff Toney for a huge gain, but there's a penalty marker. They're going to bring it back. 41 yards wiped out by a penalty.
Well, the first big offensive play of the football game for the BC Lions, and unfortunately, one of the few penalties. Great throw and catch by DeWalt and Sandusky, but it comes all the way back to the BC Lions 30-yard line. They're going to bring an extra defensive back into the ball game now as Mark Jackson, number 5, replaces Frank Balkovic.
The Lions' 5th penalty. The Eskimos have not been penalized, and that one is a huge difference in field position. The Lions back at 2nd and 15 from their own 30, rather than being 1st and 10 down around the Eskimo 20. DeWalt gets outside the rush. Dan Kearns catches up with him and brings him down at the 31-yard line. He picks up 6 yards, but it's 3rd down and about 9.
On that previous play, the BC Lions were called for holding, but watch this. This is Stu Hill. He'll cross behind his tackle and go up the field. Watch what Glenn Leonhard, number 54, does to him. Just keep your eye on Stu Hill, number 36. He pinned him.
That's for sure.
No call.
End over end punt by Pasaga, short. Tom Richards at the 40 to the 45-yard line.
Tom Richards returning the punt.
Luke Pasaglia, of course, has been bothered all year long with a pull in his lower abdomen, and he has not had the kind of year you expect from Louis. Particularly his punting has suffered. He's averaged only 41.2 yards punting, and one of the few times in his career teams have an advantage kicking against the BC Lions. Good field position once again for the Eskimos with 1:47 remaining.
Matt Dunnigan back in at quarterback now for the Eskimos. Great fake, and Dunnigan gets outside Mel Bird, and he's on the move. Tyrone Cruz finally caught up to Dunnigan at the 20-yard line. A tremendous run by Matt Dunnigan. Boy, it doesn't matter what quarterback they throw at you. Away they go.
Well, you know, I was talking to Joe Galat, the general manager of the BC Lions, and everybody's talked all week about the concern over Dunnigan's running. I said, Joe, how can you contain this guy? I mean, just what can you do? He says, you really can't. And I think that's the bottom line.
33 yards. They'll make it 43 yards for Matt Dunnigan, all the way down to the BC 21-yard line with still over a minute to go in the quarter.
Well, this thing could get out of hand from the BC Lions' point of view if they punch it in the end zone again here.
This is Chris Skinner struggling to pick up 4 or 5 yards. Walter Ballard, Tyrone Cruz in on the tackle. PWA Stars of the Week, and all 3 of them from Edmonton, including that man right there, Matt Dunnigan. That's all coming up at halftime. Dunnigan to Rick House coming into the middle, and he fights for a first down. Nelson Martin wrapped him up immediately, but Rick House showing tremendous strength. Gets inside the 10. It's first and goal.
And we should pass along our congratulations to Harold Ballard and Al Bruno and their entire organization for just an outstanding comeback this afternoon. Great to see such a fine gentleman like Al Bruno have some success like that. It looked pretty dim early in the ball game.
Oh, and all the injuries they had at the start of the game, you wondered if they're going to be able to finish with people going down left and right. But they put it together. Now here's the Eskimos trying to make this one a rout. Dunnigan throws, it's picked off. Intercepted at the 1-yard line by Mel Bird. So
well, it's a big play.
It sure is. With just 26 seconds remaining until halftime, the Lions defense comes up with an interception. They led the league with a team record 44 during the regular season.
Excellent position by Bird. He had 6 interceptions during the course of the year. BC, I'm sure, just going to try to kill this last 26 seconds and obviously try to regroup at halftime.
Frank, the Eskimo bench is yelling that he didn't have his feet in bounds. I couldn't tell.
It was tough to see on the replay, Al, but they have certainly given the ball to the Lions.
From the 1-yard line, the give is to Anthony Parker. He gets out to about the 5. 3 or 4 Eskimos finally bring him down. Mel Bird returned 2 interceptions during the regular season for touchdowns. This one here, he saves a touchdown being scored against BC to give the Lions the ball at the 1. They're now at the 5, second down and 6 with 19 seconds, clock winding down. 15 seconds left in the first half. Roy Walt will not work out of the shotgun in this situation. This will be the final play of the opening half, and again he gives to Anthony Parker, and Bass wraps him up at the 10-yard line, and that's going to bring the first half to a close here at Commonwealth Stadium with the hometown Edmonton Eskimos dominating the BC Lions. Edmonton leading it 23-1 at halftime.
Really amazing, and it's very critical, obviously, for the BC Lions to get something going very early in this third quarter. It's been a football game that the BC Lions all year long lived off the turnovers, and it's hurt them very badly. Stu Hill's interception started it all going for the Eskimos. Let's get down there to live action.
Right, 22-point lead for the Edmonton Eskimos as we get set to start this third quarter here at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, and it'll be the Lions kicking off to get the second half underway. Jan Karinci has the ball teed up at his own 35 and kicks it deep. And he drills this one over the head of the return man back into the end zone. And they'll have to make a play on it. Tom Richards, 15 yards deep, will give up a single point. So now it is 23-2 as the Lions get a single point on the opening kickoff here in the third quarter. And the Eskimos will take over first and 10 from their own 35-yard line. Totally dominated by the Eskimos in that first half. The net yardage, 236 to 92. And a couple of touchdown passes by Matt Dunnigan. Damon Allen has played. Of course, there were the key turnovers. One an interception against Roy DeWalt, which really wasn't his fault. It bounced off of Anthony Parker into the hands of Stu Hill, as we see an injured BC Lion on that kickoff team. With Bob Skemp, number 71, being helped to his feet and led to the bench now.
Well, that could be an important point, Dale. That brings the Lions within 3 converted touchdowns as the Eskimos, but obviously they've got to shut down this Edmonton offensive unit, first of all.
See if that Mel Bird interception late in the opening half gives the Lions a lift here as Dunnigan, with the rollout action, is almost intercepted again. That is Keith Gooch right at the sidelines, almost coming down with that football.
Looked like Dunnigan was throwing for Doug Allen, a newcomer, deep on the play, but a very difficult throw as he rolled out to the left side and tried to throw that ball about 45 yards downfield. Dunnigan was, of course, replaced for part of that first half by Damon Allen, but he comes out to start this second half.
The Eskimos winning 3 straight over the Lions during the regular season by 36-13, 32-3, and 31-13. And they lead here 23-2 in the third. Dunnigan airing it out for Brian Kelly, and he was bumping all the way down the sidelines with Andre Francis, number 14. The bench, the Eskimo bench, wanted an interference call, but there are no flags. It'll be third down, and Tom Dixon will have to punt.
Well, they thought Francis got that right elbow into Brian Kelly, who made just one of the most spectacular catches we've seen in the entire year of 1986. A one-hander, left-handed, behind his back. The BC Lions have done it defensively on the first possession by the Eskimos.
Here's the punt by Dixon with one man back to receive, and that is Larry Crawford. Crawford is drilled down by Rod Knapp, number 67, the left guard, at about the 37-yard line. 43-yard punt and a return of 5. Crawford a little bit shaken up on the play.
It'll be first and 10. BC, the ball on their own 38.
Now it's up to the Lions offense. First down as they spot it between the 38 and 39-yard line. Their first possession of the second half. Anthony Parker with a big hole out across the 45 to about the 47-yard line for a gain of close to 9 yards on the play. Frank Balkovic making the tackle.
What a big part of the limited offensive success the BC Lions have had has been Anthony Parker. They started out this ball game throwing to him on a couple of the initial series. His gain is about 8.5.
Second down and short. Parker again pops through there. First down as he crosses midfield. He's into Eskimo territory, and it was Jeff George, number 29, finally bringing him down. Anthony Parker picking up 37 yards rushing in that first half.
Bass just a little bit out of control coming in from that middle linebacking spot, ran right by Parker, and he almost broke that one.
First and 10 BC from the Eskimo 52 as the Lion offense now tries to establish something here. They haven't been able to do that through the first 30 minutes. DeWalt looking for Sandusky all the way, and he makes a great catch. Went up in the air over the defensive back, Ron Howard, and came down with the football. First down, Lions at the 33.
And they ruled that he was knocked out of bounds and would have landed inbounds had he not been hit. A 19-yard gain, an excellent call. Well, they got the left foot down anyway and inside of the field, so it's a first down at the 33 of the Eskimos.
1 foot down, that's all he needs. First down, Lions. Anthony Parker with a nice move right at the line of scrimmage. Got him past the linebacker, Craig Schaefer, and Parker gets the ball inside the 30-yard line. There, Danny Bass brings him down at the 29. It's a pickup of close to 4 yards.
The ball on the Edmonton 29.
DeWalt out of the shotgun on second down and 6. Sandusky knocked away by Cliff Tony at the 2-yard line. And DeWalt charges downfield looking for an interference call, but that was a good defensive play by Tony.
Well, it sure was, because the ball was thrown extremely well by DeWalt. Sandusky had 6 had Cliff Tony not been there. Third down now, so Lou Pasaglia will come on the field. If This is a field goal attempt. It'll come from about the 37-yard line. Make that the 36.
John Pankratz holding for Passaglio. And it is good. So the BC Lions with their first field goal of the ball game. They trail 23-5 to the hometown Eskimos, and we'll be back to Commonwealth Stadium in a moment.
We've got viewers of today's game everywhere. Milson Jones telling me at halftime that he wanted us to say hello to his dad watching the game in the Northwest Territories at Resolute Bay. He said there's all sorts of Eskimo fans up there. I can imagine there's lots of Eskimos up there.
Real one.
And the Eskimos have the ball, 1st and 10 from their own 35-yard line. They lead it 23-5. 11 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Matt Dunnigan has thrown 2 touchdown passes so far. Setting up a screen, and he tried to hit Milson Jones, and he just overthrew him.
Good job by Bernie Gleer there, the linebacker who's come back in after being injured last week. Watch him, number 7. He watches Milson Jones come up. He's going to come in there and blitz, but when he sees the back take off out into the pass pattern, he stays with him. Good job by Gleer, number 7. See him stay right with him. Excellent read.
2nd down and 10 from the 35. Rick House wide open in the middle. Brought down at midfield. 1st and 10 for the Eskimos. Nelson Martin made the tackle. A pickup of 20 yards.
Nelson Martin giving an awful lot of room underneath to the Eskimo receivers. Brian Kelly also in that area, but it was House that was wide open, and Dunnigan found him.
Rick Klassen was back in for the Lions on defense, but he's limping again and has left the ball game. Benny Jones returns a tackle. They give up the middle to Milson Jones, and Mike Gray brings him down after a gain of about 3.
Well, the Eskimos just doing an outstanding job of neutralizing the great rush by James Quick Parker. He has not been a factor in this football game. That's unusual.
8 of 3. It'll be 2nd down and 7 for the ball on the BC 52.
The winner of this game will meet the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the Grey Cup game next Sunday in Vancouver, which you'll see on CTV. Rick House again. Coming into the middle. 1st down Eskimos. Mel Bird made the tackle. The ball at the BC 42.
Rick, of course, has had his problems over the last couple of years with injuries, but all of a sudden a very big factor in this ball game with 2 key receptions. Chris Johnstone now comes in the ball game, number 83, replacing Milson Jones. With some information for Matt Dunnigan.
Quick count. A little bit high for Rick House that time, and he just got the pass away. You see it. Dunnigan was flattened by Bernie Gleer, who's back in the BC lineup today after missing some action following a hand injury in the regular season game in Winnipeg. Gleer, number 7.
Once again, good play by Gleer.
The Lions are still without Glenn Jackson with a back injury. He is not in the lineup today.
Jackson, if the BC Lions could come back in this ball game, may well be ready for that Grey Cup. But of course, Kevin Konar, their other outstanding linebacker, is out for the year.
It is 2nd and 10. Dunnigan just got the pass away in time, and Doug Allen makes his first catch as an Eskimo, and it's a beauty.
Was that a spectacular first catch?
And Dunnigan is shaken up. Very slow to get up, but he's getting to his feet now.
Well, the official's right there, too, to see if that reception is made, and it was. The gain is very, very close to a 1st down.
We told you about Doug Allen in the first half. He, of course, is the brother of Calgary's Gary Allen. He's a 2nd-year pro, as you see, from Arizona State. 5'10", 175, and he's been around Edmonton on the practice roster of the Eskimos for a number of months, but this is his first game action. He's off the field at the moment. 3rd and short yardage for the Eskimos. Dunnigan keeps it himself to the 30-yard line, and he's got a 1st down.
Dale, I don't think there's any other team in the league as successful on 3rd and short as the Eskimos are with Dunnigan carrying.
Well, he certainly seems to find a way, doesn't he, Al, to pick up that necessary yardage.
I can't remember him missing on 3rd and short all year.
A lot of people consider the best defensive football club in the country.
Looks like he ends up falling on that right elbow right at the end of the play here.
He's getting a tremendous ovation here. But there's a lot of Damon Allen fans here, believe it. That obviously in pain. What a great competitor.
So Damon Allen is back in for the 2nd time today, replacing Matt Dunnigan. It's 1st and 10 Eskimos at the BC 30-yard line. Eskimos lead it 23-5, and we're in the 3rd quarter, halfway through the 3rd. The give is to Chris Skinner, and Benny Jones was there quickly along with John Omer for a 5-yard loss on the play, back to the 35.
Absolutely did not fool the backside, the weak side on this play. The draw is to go to the left, but as Rudy Phillips, the right offensive tackle, pulled, the 2 defenders from the weak side just collapsed down, and the loss is about 5 yards.
Dunnigan being attended to while Damon Allen goes to work on 2nd down and 15. Rick House again is open in the middle. He made the catch, and Mel Bird was there defensively. He's short of the 1st down by about 3 yards. We'll see Tom Dixon again.
6:48 remaining in the 3rd quarter as Dixon will try to put the Eskimos back into a 26-5 lead, a 3 converted touchdown lead. He'll hit this one from about the 30-yard line.
Tom Dixon, 3 for 3. He'll have a new holder for this attempt, Brad Taylor, replacing Matt Dunnigan. He'll spot the ball near the 30-yard line. Brad Taylor, of course, the number 3 quarterback for the Eskimos. It doesn't matter who's holding today for Tom Dixon. He's perfect again, 4 for 4. It's now 26-5 Eskimos. We'll be back in a moment. Dixon kicks off from the 26-yard line. Sandusky on the return, and he goes down on his own as he lost his footing at the 37-yard line. John Manrich was there to pin him.
Don't you think, Dale, that the Eskimos have kind of won the battle of the shoes? It hasn't been much of a battle, but BC have seemed to slip more.
Much more than the Eskimos have.
Well, the Lions, if they're going to get it going offensively, Dale, they've got to do it pretty quickly now. There's just about 6 minutes remaining in this 3rd quarter, 6:20.
3 wide receivers split to the left, and the Wall didn't even get a chance. James Zachary right there to throw the BC quarterback for a big loss on the play.
Boy, Zachary is absolutely not touched. Watch him, number 92. He's across that line of scrimmage before DeWalt can do anything. The tackling guard on that side just split, and Zachary went in there untouched.
There's the triple wide receivers lined up in a power I formation off to the left, but DeWalt never got a chance to get much of a look out there, let alone throw the ball. It's 2nd down and 15. DeWalt stepping up. He's in trouble again. Pitches it back to Anthony Parker. Heads up play by Roy DeWalt, but they whistled the play dead.
In the grasp.
He was in the grasp, and he didn't get the ball to Parker quick enough. It's going to come back to the 26-yard line.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered a whole lot. Parker was a good 8 yards short of a 1st down. I don't think they'd gamble on 3rd and 8 with this much time left. Don Matthews in his 10th straight Western final. First 6, of course, right here with the Eskimos, where he was the defensive coordinator for Huey Campbell's Chargers.
Pisaglia on the punt, only 1 man back. That's Tom Richards. Short punt by Pisaglia, and goes out of bounds at the Eskimo bench, right near midfield. On the BC side of midfield, it is 26-5 in favor of the Eskimos, and we'll be back in just a moment. 1st and 10 for the Eskimos, just inside BC territory with Damon Allen at the controls. Chris Skinner to the 50-yard line for a gain of close to 5 on the play. Bernie Glier leading the way defensively for the Lions, along with Nelson Martin over there. Second down, Edmonton.
Yeah, we may have seen the last of Matt Dunnigan if Damon Allen can do the job for them in the last 20 minutes of this ball game. But for Eskimo fans, Dunnigan is up and throwing the football on the sideline, so he's obviously not that badly injured.
Frank, they'd like to keep him out if at all possible and give that elbow a little bit of rest now. But of course, if times get tough, he'll come back.
Second down for the Eskimos. Allen looking to run it. He got back to the line of scrimmage, and that's all. The defense closed in on him in a hurry, led by Mike Gray, number 77, along with Tyrone Cruz. It is third down, Edmonton.
Again, the BC Lions continue to blitz. You'll see James Quick Parker, number 40, on that inside blitz once again. But it's the defensive backs that are doing the job downfield this time. They pick him up pretty well with Nelson Jones getting a piece of Parker right in the backfield.
Tom Dixon on to punt. He's done more field goal kicking than punting today. One man back, and that's Larry Crawford. Dixon inside the 5. Crawford on the return, and a penalty marker or 2 comes down. Crawford does a good job of getting the ball out across the 20 to about the 23, but Larry Ruck brought him down at that point. A 20-yard return after a 47-yard kick, but Don Matthews' team will be penalized. I believe it was Bob Skemp with an illegal block.
Illegal block. BC number 71.
Being a major beneficiary.
DeWalt trying to throw out of the end zone for Fernandez. And Greg Harding was with him all the way, and Fernandez didn't have a chance at that football.
You know, when Fernandez does get single coverage, the Eskimos are doing a good job of it.
Greg Harding playing that corner, and Ron Howard, of course, playing the other corner. Harding had an interception return for a touchdown in the game against the Lions out in Vancouver. Second down and 10 BC inside their own 5-yard line. Incomplete, intended for Jim Sandusky. Went off his hand and just over the hands of Cliff Tony. It's third down, and Pasaglia will have to punt from the end zone.
Once again, the Eskimos will get great field position. Roy had an awful lot on that football for Sandusky to be able to handle it, and Pasaglia will be in his own end zone when he drops back to kick it away. There's 3:20 now remaining in the third quarter, and time's running out for Roy DeWalt and the BC Lions.
For the 4th game in a row this year, the Eskimos have stopped the BC Lion offense completely. Tom Richards letting this one bounce out at the 50. Richards inside the 45 to about the 42, and then pushed back, led by John Ulmer on the coverage team. 45-yard punt and a return of 8, and great field position for the Eskimos. And Tom Richards leaves the field favoring his left arm. What a big first quarter he had. A touchdown and a 42-yard punt return.
You really get the feeling that the Lions almost have to get a turnover here somewhere very quickly to kind of get things going for them. The defense of the Eskimos has just been outstanding.
For Skinner, hit by Bernie Glier initially to the 40-yard line. Goes Skinner inside the 40 to about the 39 for a pickup of 2. The Eskimos jumped into a 17-0 first quarter lead. And they now lead it 26-5 with 2:15 remaining in the third quarter. Steve Howlett, number 89, is into the ball game. Marco Sincar comes out, and of course with Richards being shaken up, that's why Howlett is brought in. Great fake by Dunnigan, or make that Damon Allen, and then he threw it too short as he had pressure right on top of him from Nelson Martin. But that fake by Damon Allen allowed him to get outside of Bernie Glier.
Good job by Martin by stringing it out. He did get leverage around there, but you see Martin there coming up and putting the pressure on Damon. Once again, Tom Dixon, who's had a great afternoon so far.
Field goal from the 46-yard line for Tom Dixon. With Brad Taylor doing the holding. Got the distance, but this one is wide to the left. It is the first one he has missed this afternoon, and Mel Bird gives up a single point. The Eskimos now lead at 27-5 with a minute and a half remaining in the third quarter.
Dixon favoring that right kicking leg after he hit this one. That, of course, was injured a little earlier in the ball game when he was contacted after a punt.
It'll be first and 10. BC, the ball on the wrong 39.
Not happy with himself, but he's had a great day, really.
He's had a great playoff, Frank. That he was 8 for 9 in field goals in the playoffs.
Lions take over at the line of scrimmage on the missed field goal, which is their 39. Quickly to Merv Fernandez. One-on-one with Harding. And Harding just forces him out of bounds at the 46-yard line. And a gain of 7 yards.
It's interesting, Dale, and looking over the statistical story of '86. The guy that threw the longest pass, not caught the longest pass, but threw the longest pass in 1986 was none other than Merv Fernandez.
And I'm sure you remember that one. Out of the end zone.
86 yards.
To Ned Armour. The first game of the season against Winnipeg. The give is to Anthony Parker on 2nd and 3. He tried to go over the top. Danny Bass was there to meet him, and he was well short of the first down.
Well, we're within the last minute now of the third quarter. I think they're almost to the point where going for three down football.
Not yet, according to Don Matthews.
They aren't. They're bringing Pasaglia on the field. I'm a little surprised, although it is a good yard and a half.
Pasaglia hangs this one high, backing up Howlett inside his own 20. Howlett out there on the punt return replacing Tom Richards, and he is wrapped up immediately. Leading the way, John Ulmer, number 76, along with Jamie Buis. And the Eskimos will take over near their 20. Steve Howlett, another young Canadian receiver of the Eskimos. He's a second-year pro at the University of Toronto.
Dale, as you said, Howlett's out there replacing Richards. Richards has an injured wrist, but he also has a problem with hyperventilation, and it's kind of plagued him all through the game, but it certainly hasn't affected his productivity.
Especially in that first quarter. He was all over the place for the Eskimos and helping them build up a 17-0 lead. Damon Allen under pressure, just had to unload in a hurry, intended for Chris Skinner. Goes incomplete. It was Bernie Glare, number 7, the linebacker, with that inside rush, putting heat on Damon Allen. It's 2nd and 10.
You see him coming between the offensive guard and tackle on the right side there and hitting Allen immediately after he got rid of the football. This should be the last play now of the third quarter as the clock is winding down.
Second and 10, Eskimos from their own 20. Pass intended for Doug Allen. And it goes incomplete. And when we come back, the Eskimos will be punting. Edmonton 27, BC 5. That's after 3. We'll be back with the fourth quarter in just a moment.
27-5 going into the fourth quarter. Matt Dunnigan warming up on the sideline, but I'm sure Jack Parker hopeful that he will not have to use his number 1 quarterback anymore this afternoon.
Tom Dixon to punt from the 10-yard line as we get started here in the fourth quarter. Sandusky on the fly and out of bounds at the Eskimo 45-yard line.
Good move by little Jimmy, and gives the BC Lions good field position for one of the few times in this ball game, but no offense in the first 3 quarters. 134 total yards for the BC Lions. Just have not been able to get it going against this great Eskimo defense.
Eskimos jumping into that 17-0 first quarter lead and then have outscored the Lions 10-5 since then. Now the Lions have to do it. Here in the fourth quarter, first down from the 45, quickly to Sandusky. One-on-one with Ron Howard, and Sandusky got outside and picked up about 8 yards on the play.
Well, that hitch has been a very big part of the BC Lion offense today, and essentially the Eskimos have defended it very well. Merv Fernandez has not been a factor here this afternoon. Certainly nothing like he was expected to be.
The one thing the Lions haven't done in offense, at least DeWalt hasn't, is that quick sprint action which he used in the games against Winnipeg. 2nd down and 2. Parker, first down BC, got spun around, managed to maintain his balance, pick up the first. Greg Harding there to put the stop on him. The ball at the Eskimo 33-yard line.
And it's pretty obvious that this ball club has to punch this one in. They can't settle for a field goal here.
Sandusky picked off at the 5-yard line by Cliff Toney. He had 2 of them last week against the Stampeders, including one right at the goal line. And here he picks off what really was a poorly thrown football by Roy DeWalt. It's 27-5, Eskimos leading. We'll be back in just a moment.
Well, the Eskimos leading 27-5, and a big turnover as a little bit of miscommunication, I think, between receiver Sandusky and Roy DeWalt gives the Eskimo first down at their own 6-yard line. 13:20 now remaining in this ball game. Well, surprise, Matt Dunnigan back in the ball game.
Matt Dunnigan again. Maybe they just can't keep him out of there. From the 6-yard line, Dunnigan throws to complete to Rick House, and there's a penalty marker down. House wrapped up immediately. Andre Francis was there for the BC Lions.
Well, Jack may feel that he wants Dunnigan in there because of the poor field position.
Forward pass interference. Edmonton, number 7.
Well, they caught Brian Kelly pushing out.
First penalty against the Eskimos today.
Isn't that a tremendous record?
Well,
You know, another thing amazing about this Eskimo team, guys, is their show against Western opposition this year. They've only lost 1 game against a Western team this year, and this is their 11th matchup. That's an amazing statistic.
the only Western team to beat them during the regular season, of course, was Winnipeg. And, of course, the Eskimos only lost 1 home game all year, and that was to Toronto. There's Dunnigan in the end zone. Again, Rick House is open, and Dunnigan hits him very close to first down yardage out at the 21.
But was that a fine throw?
12-yard gain.
Watch how close House is to being out of bounds when he makes this reception. Just a perfect throw by Matt Dunnigan. And a good cover-up catch by Rick House, who's having a great afternoon. It's about a half a yard short, and I'm sure we'll see Matt Dunnigan keep this football once again and hopefully protect that elbow.
Second down and less than a yard to go. Dunnigan looked like he stumbled just a little bit, starting to his right. We'll wait to see where they spot the football. It may need a measurement, and that's what we'll have. They'll bring the sticks in. And it's looking more and more like it's going to be Edmonton against Hamilton in next weekend's Grey Cup, which would be the first time they've met in the finals since 1980.
Edmonton will be looking to get their 11th Grey Cup championship next week if they go on from here. The last one, of course, 1982, which was the 5th one in a row. The only team ever to have done that. 11:45 remains in this football game.
Here's 1st and 10 for the Eskimos. Dunnigan throws complete to Doug Allen, and he makes another terrific catch. He hasn't been used a lot in this his first game. Nelson Martin made the tackle, but that's a pickup of 17 yards.
Well, I'll tell you what, this guy's made 2 receptions, and they've both just been outstanding. The first one, he was laying on his back.
The Eskimos just keep coming up with these guys, don't they?
Amazing. Matt, once again, a lot of time to throw the ball. And threaded it right between two defenders. Big first down for the Eskimos.
Dunnigan back to the other side, trying to hit Rick House. Mel Bird and Nelson Martin were both there. Frank, you were talking about the Eskimos and their Grey Cup championships. They have a bunch of plaques on the wall in the south end commemorating all 9 of their Grey Cup championships, and of course from 78 to 82, 5 in a row. What a tradition they have here in Edmonton with the Eskimos and championship teams. I mentioned it earlier. This is the 10th time in the last 15 years the Western Final has been played in Edmonton. Dunnigan in a bit of trouble, gets away momentarily at least, and then is brought down after pickup of a yard or two. And the tackle was made by Quick Parker.
One of the keys, actually, Dale, is the ability of the Eskimos to move around. Look at Leo Blanchard, the job he's done. He's naturally an offensive guard, and because of the Poitier situation, he's had to move to that left tackle spot. He was working against Walter Ballard, who's one of the real premier pass rushers in the country, and did an excellent job on it.
Leo Blanchard, of course, a Western All-Star at guard, but of course the last month he's been playing at tackle. 3rd down and 9, and the Eskimos' Tom Dixon to punt. Beautiful kick. Goes out of bounds, and the BC Lions will be starting from about their own 36-yard line. Eskimos lead it 27-5, 10 minutes left. We'll be back right after this. The Edmonton Eskimos 10 minutes and 14 seconds away from a trip to the Grey Cup and a meeting with the Hamilton Tiger Cats next Sunday in Vancouver. Matt Dunnigan has guided the Eskimos most of the way here this afternoon with relief help on a couple of occasions from Damon Allen. 22-point lead for the Eskimos, and BC 1st and 10 from their own 36. The wall with Sandusky coming back to the football. He makes the catch, steps out of bounds, 1st down at the 48-yard line.
And Dale, that's that little roll that you were referring to earlier, just kind of a little bootleg to the left side by DeWald, and he bought a lot of time to find an open receiver that time.
I really don't understand where that action was or wasn't earlier in the ball game. It seemed to be so effective for him towards the tail end of the season and, of course, last week. Great drop this time and dumping it off to John Henry White, and White just dropped the football. 2nd down and 10 from the 48-yard line.
Again, a 6th defensive back comes in the lineup. Mark Jackson, number 5, replacing Frank Valkovic. Valkovic, by the way, born in Yugoslavia. Dan Kearns, born in Brazil, and Milson Jones in Jamaica. So the Eskimos recruit him from everywhere.
International flavor, right? There's that rollout action again. DeWald looking for Pankratz, and he overthrew him. And Pankratz was being covered by Jeff George. It'll be 3rd down for the Lions.
Dale, you mentioned Dan Kearns a moment ago. It's his birthday today, and kind of a nice way to celebrate for not only he, but also his twin brother, a Western Championship.
30 years of age today. And it's 3rd down. Pasaglia is out there to punt it away.
Well, Roy DeWalt was coming back on the field. They weren't sure if they were going to gamble here, not on 3rd and 10, but it's going to be kicked away by Louis.
Steve Howlett at about the 23. Gets around Junior Robinson. Forced back a bit, though, and finally tracking him down and spilling him is John Ulmer at the 19-yard line, even though Howlett got thrown back to the 15. 39-yard punt, and Howlett actually lost 4 yards on the return. 9:10 left.
Well, it's just about time that the Eskimos start running the football, Dale. If they can pick up a couple of 1st downs on each possession, they'll burn this time away before the Lions can do much about it. Just an outstanding defensive effort by the Eskimos all game long.
All season long against the Lions. Pressure up the middle, and Dunnigan is sacked. He goes down in a pile at the 10-yard line.
That's true, Dale. You know, this ball club, which is so explosive, has got so many people who can break up a ball game, have averaged less than 10 points a game against the Eskimos.
Just saw Tyrone Cruz coming up the middle. He just ran right over the offensive lineman to get to the quarterback.
They've got a penalty against the Eskimos, too, putting all the way back to their own 11-yard line. They need to take it away right here.
Second down and 18 to go for the Eskimos following the sack. Doug Allen falls down, gets up. One man to catch him, and he is caught. No, he isn't. Touchdown. 98 yards.
What a tremendous throw by Matt Dunnigan, and spectacular catch once again by Doug Allen, who has got 3 receptions in this football game, all of which have been just unreal. Slips and falls, as you see, but gets up and he's got enough speed to outrun Mel Bird into the end zone. You talked about the recruiting job, because the Eskimos keep finding these people. One of the guys we should congratulate is Ray Newman, the director of scouting for the Eskimos, who's done such a great job for going on a couple of decades now for the Eskimos. He's found another great one.
And I cannot understand why the Edmonton Eskimos, up until very recently, were the only team in the league, as Dixon converses, to have that kind of guy on their payroll. It is now Edmonton 34 and BC 5. We'll be back in just a moment. Out to Doug Allen, and Allen turns it into a 98-yard touchdown.
I guess Jack knew something, putting him back in the ball game.
Mel Bird caught up with Allen, but couldn't stop him shy of the goal line. The kickoff now. A bit of a mix-up here between the Lion return man, Crawford, and Sandusky. Sandusky on the return now, reversing his field, and stopped at the 15 or 16-yard line. Making the tackle, Ron Howard. 14-yard return after a kick that traveled 72 yards.
It just mystifies me, Dale, how the Eskimos have dominated BC this year. 133 points to 34.
Yeah, and the scores 36-13, 32-3, 31-13, and now today 34-5. The Eskimos have allowed the Lions only 2 touchdowns all season long, one by the defense and one only by the offense. Coming inside is Merv Fernandez on first down, and DeWalt hits him for a gain of maybe 4 yards on the play. Craig Schaefer makes the stop. Tom Dixon of the Eskimos has now kicked 31 playoff points this year, and that's the 3rd highest in CFL history. Larry Robinson of Calgary had 40 in 1964 and 34 in 1962. Dixon has 31. When Robinson did it, they played a lot more playoff games, as Anthony Parker takes the handoff from DeWalt out to the 25. Danny Bass, the middle linebacker, zeroes in on him at that point. They'll spot it at the 26. 3rd and 1.
Well, there's no question the Lions are going to go for it now on 3rd down. 6:51 remains. And the short yardage team for the offensive unit of the Lions comes in the ball game. It's just about a yard. They have to get to the 27-yard line.
DeWalt keeps it himself, and he pretty well disappeared under all that humanity, and we'll get a measurement.
Well, you know, where they're spotting that football, Dell, he may well be short.
Yeah, he is short. The Eskimos take over on downs. That's the second time in the ball game.
Oh, what a tremendous defensive effort this has been for the Eskimos, and a lot of happy folks here at Commonwealth Stadium. Yet another turnover on third down.
What an amazing story the Eskimos really are. They won the 5 Grey Cups in a row. The last was in 1982. Then everybody expected a real slump for the Eskimos. What with Warren Moon left, they had to change at quarterback. Dunnigan comes in here, and they don't miss the playoffs. And in 4 years, they're back in the Grey Cup game.
And what a tremendous job Jack Parker and his staff have done. You remember the first half of last year, this was not a good defensive football club. All of a sudden, they brought in 3 or 4 people, Schaefer included, Zachary, and they just became an outstanding defensive team.
That was Chris Johnston on the first down carry, picking up about 7 yards on the play, just inside the 20. So it'll be almost a gain of 8 for Johnstone. Second down and 2 now at the 19-yard line. Dunnigan's got it himself, trying to turn the corner now. And he is knocked out of bounds right at the 16-yard line.
Dale, I just had a moment to talk to Chuck Walker, the president of the BC Lions, and apparently the information I gave in the first half is incorrect. The BC Lions do not have any tickets for the Grey Cup game. It is completely sold out, and we apologize.
Could be some folks in Hamilton and Edmonton still looking for Grey Cup tickets, though.
I'm sure.
Frank, we're counting on you to get Grey Cup tickets for our friends, you know.
Thanks a lot, Al.
We're getting another measurement here after the run by Dunnigan, and it is a first down at the BC 16-yard line. 5:16 remaining, fourth quarter. And this crowd here at Commonwealth Stadium ready to erupt as their Eskimos are closing in on another Western Championship and a trip to the Grey Cup. Damon Allen returns at quarterback now. Who pitches to Chris Skinner. Skinner to the 10 and steps out of bounds. The gain is 6 yards.
This is already the most one-sided game in the history of these two teams meeting in the playoffs, and who would have thought it, as well as the BC Lions have played the last 3 weeks. Edmonton beat the BC Lions by 29 points once before, and it looks like that margin's going to be even bigger today.
Second and about 4 for the Eskimos. Damon Allen ran into Chris Johnston, stayed on his feet, spilled at the 5-yard line, but he's got a first down. Mel Bird made the hit on Damon Allen, but it is first and goal for the Eskimos. Whether it's Matt Dunnigan or Damon Allen at the controls, the Eskimos have been able to move the football against the BC Lions. Chris Johnstone, the big rookie, fumbled the ball, went into the end zone, and the Eskimos recovered for a touchdown. Dave Sparenberg, who is a backup offensive lineman, gets the major score. Unbelievable.
Well, it's all rolling downhill for the Eskimos.
They're rocking and rolling at Commonwealth Stadium now.
Another note pass block from Chuck Walker. Apparently the phones were ringing in Vancouver. Do not call, please, the BC Lions office. They don't have any Grey Cup tickets.
You better know somebody if you want one now. The Eskimos have hit the 40-point mark here today against the Lions in a rout. It is now 41-5 with 4 minutes left. Total domination by the Eskimos right from the opening quarter. The first time they got their hands on the ball, they drove for a field goal, and the next 2 times they had it, they got touchdowns to open up a 17-0 lead. There's the fumble by Johnstone right into the end zone, and Dave Sparenberg, number 61, was there to fall on it.
Well, a tough way for the BC Lions to close out the year after they finished so strongly with those 3 great victories over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but we should pass along our congratulations now to head coach Jackie Parker, a great personal friend and a guy that had stated before this ball game that it was the most important game of his 34-year career in the Canadian Football League. It dates all the way back to 1954.
He obviously got that message across to his players in preparation for this one. A solid performance all around. Defense, offense, and special teams for the Eskimos. The kickoff by Dixon. Sandusky from the 15-yard line. Out to the 38, Larry Ruck and Craig Schaefer. Their linebackers team up to bring him down. A return of 23.
And Craig Schaefer, 61-yard kickoff.
With the expanded regular season, of course, this year, there were the occasions when certain teams had to play each other 3 times, and Edmonton beat BC 3 straight times in 1986, and now for the 4th time here in the Western Final, the Eskimos also won 3 regular season games against Calgary, plus a playoff game last weekend. Carlton Watson now in a quarterback for the Lions, who totally dominated by winning all those games against Winnipeg this year, and Watson is chased out of bounds on the far side.
Well, after 2 great, tight, close football games in the semifinal of the Western Division of the CFL, nobody really expected a blowout like this, 41-5.
3.5 minutes remaining in the ball game. Incomplete. It was almost intercepted by Cliff Toney. He has 1 today already. And it's 3rd down, and the Lions will punt it away. Cliff Toney, who was the defensive star of the week for his 2 interceptions against the Stampeders in the semifinal win last week. He has an interception here today. The punt by Pasaglia is a short one. Tom Richards at the 36 and dropped almost immediately. He got it back to the 40, ahead to about the 42-yard line. 41-5. Eskimos on the verge of going to the Grey Cup. We'll be right back. Well, with the 36-point lead for the Eskimos and Matt Dunnigan and Damon Allen having almost alternated here at quarterback today, Brad Taylor is now into the ball game, and he's going to get a chance to see some action here in the Western Final with 3:03 left to go in the 4th quarter. Brad Taylor, of course, has not had the opportunity to play very much at all, but the Eskimos are very, very high on him as well. They are deep at quarterback in Edmonton. Taylor throws. Sinkar extending himself much in the way he did to make the touchdown catch in the 1st quarter. This time he is unable to come down with the ball.
I think that was the one that really hurt too, Dale, because they had such great coverage on Sinkar on that major score, and he just stretched out almost exactly like that to pull it in. Well, they don't seem to be going in a shell. Brad Taylor wants to put one on the board himself.
In 1986, this will be the 4th straight win for the Eskimos over the Lions, and look how much they've outscored them by. It's been total domination. Taylor hits Marco Sinkar down the middle for a 1st down to the BC 47-yard line. And they play like they want more. 20-yard gain. And the Eskimos, coming into a Western Final, lose a couple of the exciting receivers like Henry Williams and Stephan Jones, and they come up with a Doug Allen who scores a 100-yard touchdown.
And 3 spectacular catches for the day.
And next week, the Eskimos will meet the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the Grey Cup. Ball mishandled by Chris Skinner on the pitch from Brad Taylor, and he managed to get back on top of it at the Eskimo 53-yard line. About the only thing that hasn't gone right for the Eskimos today. It's 2nd and 20, 10-yard loss. Taylor is almost intercepted by Andre Francis. And the receiver, Steve Howlett, looking for an interference call. There isn't one. It'll be 3rd down.
Well, Don Matthews is going to come up short.
Long, long afternoon for the BC Lions.
We're down to just about 2 minutes showing on the clock now, so no question the Eskimos will represent the West in Grey Cup 86.
You know, some people wondered about the new playoff format and the first-place team in the West not getting the bye directly into the Western Final anymore, having to go the route of the semifinal victory to get there. But it still means a lot to finish first and have that Western Final at home, because the Eskimos are dynamite at home. And of course, over the past 15 years, there's only been 2 occasions when the visiting team has won
Edmonton,
the
number
Western
3.
Final. And total domination for the Eskimos here in Edmonton. Crawford watching that ball bounce around at the 23, 24-yard line, and he just goes down right at the 25. So 1 minute and 50 seconds left, and this game is history now. But they'll have to play it out.
Well, Roy DeWalt has seen his last action for 1986 as Carlton Watson comes back in for the 2nd series for the Lions. Lions 12-6 in 1986.
Watson guns it down the sidelines, intended for Jim Sandusky, and he just put that one downfield, hoping that Sandusky might be able to get to it.
In this year's Grey Cup game, Carling O'Keefe Sports Game Stars will each receive a 36-inch Sony Videoscope state-of-the-art television set presented by Remington, makers of the 3M surgical clippers and the micro screen rechargeable. Advanced shaving technology only from Remington.
Second down and 10 for the BC Lions. Dan Kearns pressuring Carlton Watson. Watson showing good mobility to get away from the rush and complete it to Jan Carinci in front of Jeff George out at the 27-yard line. But that's a gain of only 2 yards.
Well, a tremendous comeback by the Hamilton Tiger Cats in today's action, coming back from a deficit of 26 points against the Toronto Argonauts. And it should be a great Grey Cup final next week as the Eskimos and Ticats take on each other.
Louis Pasaglia's punt is a short one. Greg Harding has it. Tripped up by Richard White at the 50-yard line. Pretty good afternoon for Greg Harding in a defensive role as those corners have done a pretty good job of covering the BC Lion wideouts, Murph Fernandez and Jim Sandusky today. But then again, so has everybody done their part for green and gold in this one. Brad Taylor in for his second series at quarterback now for the Eskimos. He gives to Chris Johnstone. He just may have got back to the line of scrimmage, and that's all. Tyrone Cruz from the middle linebacking spot brings him down. One minute and 4 seconds left.
Yeah, you made reference to this earlier, but it really has been a strange year. The Edmonton complete domination of the Lions complete domination of Winnipeg, and yet if you look at the three ball clubs, you'd say they're all pretty even. It certainly has not turned out that way.
Chris Skinner with the football for a pickup of a couple on the play. It'll be third down, and the Eskimos will kick it away. But it is, you're right, it is so unusual for one team to win that many games over another team in one particular year. You remember a few years ago, before they went to that full interlocking schedule, that the teams in the West would play each other at least 3 times a year, and it was very seldom one team would win all 3. And now we're looking at teams that are winning for the 4th time over the same team in 1 year.
And particularly so in such a well-balanced division that the West had all year long. A fumble by the Eskimos. It's going to stand, and the Lions come up with the football. Bernie Jones, number 62, but there's only 15 seconds showing on this clock, so it's not of any great significance.
The Eskimos that far away from another Western Championship. If you're wondering if there is a trophy that the Eskimos will win, they will win the N.J. Pickles-Taylor Trophy as Western Division champions. Anthony Parker on the receiving end of that pass from Watson. Spun around and dropped at the 35-yard line by Craig Schaefer, and time for one more play, and the party is definitely on at Commonwealth Stadium. Watson will call a timeout, though, and see if they can come up with something to at least try and go for a touchdown. It's 41-5 for the Eskimos, and we'll be back in just a moment. They're getting the field cleared at the north end. It's well away from where the ball is, so the Lions should be able to get the play off, and they do. This will do it. Watson going for the end zone, and it is intercepted by Phil Jones. Really a fitting way for the Eskimos to finish off this ball game, because it was theirs right from the opening quarter when they jumped into a 17-0 lead, and they go on to defeat the BC Lions 41-5, and now it'll be the Eskimos and the Tiger Cats meeting in the 1986 Grey Cup game next Sunday at BC Place in Vancouver. And of course, all the Grey Cup action you'll see right here on CTV. Victorious coach Jack Parker guiding his club to a regular season record of 13 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie. Tom Dixon, who was almost perfect today in the field goal kicking department for the Eskimos. A big celebration on the field in Edmonton, and let's go to Al McCann.
Okay, JL, it's a happy lot down here. Coach Jack Parker, it went better than your wildest dreams. Everything fell into place today, eh?
Well, that game went kind of like the other ones we had with BC. You know, we made a lot of big plays, and some of the guys just played their hearts out, you know, and it's been that way all year, Al, and this was, no question, the biggest game we've ever had.
I'll tell you, your game plan was masterful. It just worked out perfectly, and you didn't get anybody badly hurt, which is good news for next week.
Well, I hope not, anyway.
Jack, I know you want to get back to your players. Thanks for dropping over. Good luck next week.
Just a tremendous effort, as we said, defensively by everybody. They really were the toughest team all year long to score on, and the toughest team to run against. But look at that offensive total. They really put it together once again against an excellent BC Lion defensive team. Almost 500 yards. They're going on 500 yards of total offense. And really, we had 6 turnovers in the ball game, but they weren't really a big factor at all. It looked like the Eskimos were going to dominate almost from the opening gun, regardless of which way the breaks went. 41-5 over the line.
This program is copyrighted and is strictly intended for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the CTV television network is strictly prohibited.